Jimmy Golen, sports writer for the Associated Press, adjunct professor at Boston College, Aaron's uncle-in-law. How you doing over there?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
So where are you right now?
Well, right now I'm in Wellesley, which is where I live with my wife, your wife's aunt. And I said aunt like the Bostonian, even though I'm a Chicagoan who would say aunt. We just had a Zoom chat with my mother-in-law, your grandmother-in-law, and nothing going on today. Actually, I have a video group session. We're going to watch Becoming by Michelle as a group, the Michelle Obama documentary later today, and that's pretty much all that's going on here right now.
I'm so glad that you are joining us in this space. And you are deep in the heart of Steelers country, at least virtually.
That was the alarm reminding me not to miss this. But...
It's time. It's time.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead. We're back.
It's perfect. Even your phone is revolting when I say Steelers country,
right.
Which seems fair when you're in Patriots world.
Yeah, This is Patriots world. Like I said, I'm originally a Chicagoan, and I cover the Patriots. It's hard to root for teams that you cover in general, and the Patriots, I think, are exceptionally so.
So from perhaps less the fan perspective and more the covering it, I'm curious, which is a bigger deal in Boston right now? COVID-19 or the fact that both Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski are now Buccaneers?
Well, it depends what sphere you're talking about, but COVID is bigger. There's definitely a lot of panic about Brady and Gronkowski leaving. So an interesting dynamic here is because Patriots fans can never be happy at all. There's a division among them about whether Brady or Belichick is more to credit for the team's success. So there's an interesting experiment playing out now that people are eager to see who does better this year, the Patriots or the Buccaneers, and that will, in theory, bring some measure of an answer to that question.
Fair enough. So you are in the really interesting time, I suspect, of being a sports writer without sports, at least as you would normally be covering them. I'm curious what has changed, what has expanded, what are you up to right now?
So it's interesting, for the first couple of weeks, we were quite busy because things were being canceled and people were talking about plans to, what they were going to do. And so there's a lot of that. In fact, we had a work call among the sports writers at the Associated Press to discuss how we were going to stay busy with no sports. And during the work call, Tom Brady left the Patriots. One of the leagues I cover shut down, and there was something else going on too. So it's not quite as lacking in things to cover as it might be. It got a little slow the last couple of weeks. We run a feature called One Good Thing, and the AP runs a feature every day, just like it sounds, to have something happy out there. So I wrote a couple stories about that. There was a guy who covers the Red Sox for one of the suburban papers here, and he was just sitting at home he moved back with his parents to isolate, and he found his old cards. He had collected autographs and baseball cards, and he started auctioning them off on Twitter, just because he thought that would be useful. And in exchange for the card, someone would make a donation to a charity. And so he raised $57,000 doing that in a month. And like a lot of people jumped in, like the former Red Sox manager, Alex Cora, donated something. And so the Red Sox donated something. So that kind of took on life of its own. So that was one of our One Good Thing features. This week I wrote a story about the guy who plays the organ at Fenway Park. Every day at 3:00, he does what he calls a virtual seventh inning stretch, and he plays Take Me Out to the Ball Game and anything else people request from his living room on his organ. So, there's a couple stories like that. And there's some long-term things that we work on. And a little secret is that one of the things that we do is we write obituaries for people before they die, so that when they die, we have the obituary ready. So that's one of the things we've been doing, just getting up to date on that. So we have a list of, maybe 20 people who are important and getting up there. And of course, you never know. I mean, I'm sure we didn't have a Kobe Bryant obit ready, because he was young and things like that. So that's also how I fill my time, is kind of updating those.
I had the chance to read one of the articles you've recently written about the Boston Marathon. And as a runner myself, and looking to the Boston Marathon as kind of the holy grail in the sport, it's kind of a big deal to postpone it and try to, at the same time, to keep a 124-year-old tradition alive. Can you say a little bit more about the article, or about how postponing the marathon is grasping Boston?
Sure. So the marathon started in 1897. Some Bostonians had gone to the first modern Olympics in Athens, and they ran a marathon, which recreated the route from Marathon to Athens after the Peloponnesian War. A messenger was sent. He arrived in Athens to report news of the victory. He said, "Rejoice, we conquer," and he dropped dead on the spot. And anyway, so ever since 1897, they have run it on what is a Massachusetts holiday called Patriots Day. It celebrates the first shots in the Revolutionary War, and it's in April. And it had never not been, on that day or on that weekend, and it had never not been in April. So it was a big deal for them just to postpone it till September. And I think if I had to guess, it's not going to happen. I don't think that. We certainly can't have 30,000 people running down the street, and even if they limited it, like the Tokyo Marathon changed to have just the top runners. They had about 200 runners. And even if they did that, there'd be concern about people lining the streets to cheer them on. So the mayor has already said no sporting events with fans through August, and September 14th, obviously, right after that. But so I think that might not happen, and it would be sad. I mean, I think that, we've had a few in my lifetime sports cancellations. The NHL canceled an entire season, baseball canceled its World Series. And, you think back on those, and it's a shame for the athletes who lost an opportunity to compete, and the fans, and it just kind of has a big gaping hole in the record book. And so, in the scheme of things, not that big of a deal, but it's one of the ways that I think this will be remembered. You see things like the Stanley Cup Finals or the marathon itself. In 1918, they instead of a marathon, they had a relay race on military bases because of the Spanish flu. So I mean, that's one of those things that people here know, and now I think we're going to have another.
You bring up a really interesting point, that when someone's training for any marathon, let alone the Boston Marathon, it takes a tremendous amount of energy and time and effort. How much the more so when you are getting trained up for the Olympic Games. You also cover the Olympics, and a postponement there for an entire year. Is that going to work? What are you hearing? Where do things stand now for the Olympics?
Well, they postponed them from this summer to next summer, and they say they can't postpone them again. One of the things that happens is, there's world championships in swimming, for example, that had to be moved because the Olympics moved into next summer, and multiply that by 30 or 50 sports, and kind of the whole calendar gets disrupted. So they say they can't do it again. They also have to, employ all the people for the extra year. They're going to lose like billions of dollars. I think it's possible that they can have it. It's possible that we'll have a vaccine. We were talking that maybe, if Japan requires everyone who arrives to have a vaccine, to be vaccinated, that I think could be done safely. But, all the predictions so far have been, if not wrong, have been too optimistic. So, I'm not counting on it.
Fair enough. This is not exactly an interview of uplift now, is it?
Yeah, no, sorry.
No, I commend those who are involved for putting human life above the major economics that go into the professional and international sporting world. Also in that vein, what are you hearing from the MLB? Are players and owners going to be able to get together over the money thing, which is a major sticking point from what I understand?
Right. So just there's your alarm again. Hang on. I'm trying not to knock it over this time.
Trust you're talking to rabbis around the country right now, and so I don't want to keep
exactly. No, I wouldn't overestimate the desire of sports people to care about things other than money. I mean, I think that they're concerned about how much money they're losing, and if they don't play, and they're also concerned about how much money they lose if they do play, and that's the sticking point with the baseball players and owners. There's been, I don't begrudge anyone saying, yeah, I make $3 million a year, but it's not worth it to me to risk my family to go play baseball if it's not safe. I mean, I think that's commendable. And, and I also don't begrudge the owners saying, if we're going to lose more money by playing than not playing, then we're not going to do it. So somewhere there's a point where, people have to decide if it's more worth it to them to walk away or to play. And I think that we will see something. Baseball is maybe the trickiest there because, hockey and basketball, their seasons are almost done. So I think there's more momentum to like get together and, kind of finish things off. Baseball hasn't started. So, it's easier to kind of push things back. And, they always have the option of, November, December playing in Arizona and Florida and trying that. So I think they will play. I think that, someone will blink and they'll figure out a way where, people lose less. But baseball, the two sides of baseball have known to be kind of intransigent and dig their heels in. So it'll be interesting to follow. And that's one of the things that, kind of keeps, you asked, your first question was, what do we keep busy with when there's no sports? But there's always kind of things going on behind the scenes.
Absolutely. A question from Rob Goodman, who is listening to us right now. In case your crystal ball is working better than ours is, which is likelier to happen first? NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, or the start of baseball?
That's a good question. So the NBA, I think, was talking about even playing some games before going into the playoffs. The NHL is not talking about that. So I would rule out NBA. It's either now NHL. Baseball, I think, needs more of time to get things going. They would need a real spring training because players need to get into shape. Pitchers need to get into shape. So I would guess NHL playoffs. That's my crystal ball.
Very good. Jimmy Golen, sports writer for the AP, adjunct professor at Boston College. I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I hope it was